The Caldwell Media Tower stood 62 stories above Manhattan, glass and steel. Inside, the headquarters of a publishing empire, $18 billion. Books, magazines, digital platforms, media spanning every format and language. At 2 a.m., most of the building was dark, empty, silent. But on the 47th floor, the executive suite, one office remained lit. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a desk covered in manuscripts, red pen marks everywhere, coffee cups, the remnants of a dinner nobody had time to eat. Ramona Caldwell sat behind that desk, 48 years old, CEO, founder. The woman who'd built this empire from nothing, from poverty, from a scholarship to an Ivy League school where she'd been the poorest student in every room, from learning that excellence was the only currency that mattered when you had nothing else to spend. She wore silver, a tailored suit in a sophisticated neutral tone. Her hair, dark brown with natural gray streaks she'd stopped hiding years ago, was pulled back in a neat bun. She looked elegant, controlled, exhausted. She couldn't sleep. Hadn't been able to sleep properly in months, maybe years, because sleeping meant not working, not controlling, not making sure every single detail of her empire was perfect. And as she didn't control everything, who would? Who would care as much as she did? Who would notice the things that mattered? Nobody, her anxiety whispered. Nobody will care like you do, so you can't stop, can't delegate, can't trust. Ramona circled a paragraph in the manuscript she was editing, changed a word, adjusted punctuation. Small things. Things most CEOs would delegate to editors, but Ramona had learned long ago, if you want something done right, do it yourself. Trust nobody, control everything. The poverty had taught her that, growing up with nothing, watching her mother work 3 jobs and still not have enough, learning that the world didn't care about you unless you made them care, unless you were better, smarter, more dedicated, more controlled. So Ramona controlled everything, and it was killing her, slowly, invisibly, in ways she couldn't fix because she couldn't see them. Unlike the man working 7 floors below, the one who saw everything, fixed everything, quietly, without asking, without seeking credit. The one who was about to teach Ramona the most important lesson of her life. Subscribe to Becca's Stories so we keep finding you with moments that show you the greatest work happens when nobody's watching. Sullivan Hale pushed his cleaning cart down the 40th floor stairwell. 2:17 a.m., night shift. The building was quiet, empty, just the way he preferred it. He wore yellow, custodial uniform, his name stitched on the chest pocket, cleaning supplies loaded on the cart, mop, bucket, spray bottles, and, tucked in a side compartment most janitors didn't use, a small toolkit, screwdrivers, wrench, pliers, level, tape measure. Not standard janitor equipment, but Sullivan wasn't a standard janitor. He'd been an architect 7 years ago. Buildings, structures, high-stakes designs where a single miscalculation could cost millions or lives. He'd been good at it, excellent, one of the youngest lead architects at his firm. Then Celia died, his wife, 35 years old, healthy, perfect health, until the aneurysm, brain, no warning, no symptoms. One moment she was laughing with their daughter Bryn, the next moment she was gone. Sullivan had quit architecture the week after the funeral. Couldn't focus on high-stakes decisions anymore. Couldn't design buildings when he couldn't predict whether his own wife would live through breakfast. Couldn't calculate structural loads when the structure of his entire world had collapsed without warning. So he became a janitor. Night shift, empty buildings, simple tasks, cleaning, organizing, making things better in small, visible ways. No life or death decisions, no million-dollar stakes, just floors and windows and trash cans, things he could control, things he could fix. Except Sullivan couldn't turn off his architect's eye, couldn't stop noticing structural issues, safety problems, aesthetic details, things broken, things that needed fixing, like the handrail in this stairwell. He'd noticed it 3 weeks ago, loose, wobbly. Nobody else had mentioned it. Maintenance hadn't fixed it, but Sullivan had tested it every night since, gripping it, shaking gently, assessing the structural integrity the way an architect does, instinctive, automatic. Tonight, he decided to fix it. He set down his mop, opened his toolkit, pulled out a screwdriver, knelt beside the handrail post, and started working. The screws had loosened over time, vibration from the building, temperature changes, normal wear. Easy fix, just needed attention, care, someone who noticed. Sullivan tightened each screw. Proper torque. Not too tight, that would strip the threads. Not too loose, that would leave it wobbly. Just right. The way an engineer does, respecting the materials, understanding how metal and wood interact. He tested it again. Gripped, shook, stable, secure, safe. Someone elderly could grab this now. A pregnant woman, a child running downstairs. They'd be safe. The rail would hold. Nobody would know he'd fixed it. Nobody had asked him to. It wasn't his job, but it was broken, and now it wasn't. Sullivan packed his tools, returned to his cleaning cart, moved on. He didn't know someone had been watching. 7 floors up, Ramona Caldwell stood in the stairwell doorway. She'd left her office for coffee, decided to take the stairs instead of the elevator, clear her head, move her body. And she'd seen him, the janitor, yellow uniform, kneeling beside the handrail, fixing it, with tools that shouldn't be on a janitor's cart, with precision that suggested training, experience, care. She watched him test the rail, grip it, shake it, nod in satisfaction, pack his tools, move on. He hadn't looked around for approval, hadn't documented the fix for credit, hadn't told anyone, just fixed a broken thing, quietly, competently, because it needed fixing. Ramona stood frozen. She'd worked in this building for 15 years, walked these stairs 1,000 times, never noticed the handrail was loose, never thought about it, never cared. But this janitor had, noticed, cared, fixed it, without being asked, without seeking recognition. Excellence happening when nobody was watching. Ramona felt something shift in her chest. Curiosity, maybe, or something deeper, something that challenged everything she believed about control and trust and who cared about the details that mattered. She followed him, quietly, keeping her distance, watching. Sullivan's shift followed a routine. Floors, bathrooms, windows, trash. Simple, methodical, meditative. But interspersed with the cleaning, invisible to anyone not paying attention, were small fixes, tiny improvements, things nobody had noticed were broken. A door on the 39th floor, the hinge squeaked, had squeaked for months. Sullivan pulled out a small bottle of lubricant, applied 3 precise drops to the hinge, opened and closed the door, silent now, smooth. He wiped away the excess oil with a clean cloth. Perfect. An outlet cover in a conference room, cracked, slightly dangerous. Someone could touch exposed wiring. Sullivan replaced it, had a spare in his cart, standard size. He'd noticed the crack 2 weeks ago, ordered the replacement with his own money, 67 cents, installed it in 45 seconds, safe now. A window on the 37th floor, draft coming through, cold air leaking in, wasting energy, making the office uncomfortable. Sullivan ran his hand along the seal, methodical, systematic, found the gap, applied weather stripping, sealed it, tested. No more draft, efficient now. A plant in the lobby, dying. Nobody watered it, nobody cared. Sullivan did. He measured the angle of sunlight through the window, calculated optimal placement, moved the plant 6 inches left, 3 inches forward, where it would get morning light, not afternoon heat. Watered it, the right amount, not too much, not too little. It would survive now. None of these were his job. None were in his job description. Janitors clean. They don't repair, don't maintain, don't fix. But Sullivan couldn't walk past broken things. His architect's eye saw them. His engineer's hands fixed them. His father's heart cared about the people who'd use these spaces, who'd grab that handrail, open that door, work near that outlet, sit by that window, walk past that plant. People mattered. Details mattered, even when nobody noticed, especially when nobody noticed. Ramona followed him through the entire shift, 4 hours. She should have been sleeping, should have been working, should have been doing anything except following a janitor through her building. But she couldn't stop because she was witnessing something she'd never seen before. Excellence without audience, competence without recognition, care without control. All the things she'd convinced herself didn't exist, because in her experience, people only performed when watched, only excelled when measured, only cared when rewarded. But this janitor, this man in a yellow uniform pushing a cleaning cart at 3 a.m., was dismantling her entire worldview, one small fix at a time. At 5:47 a.m., Sullivan finished his shift, stored his cart, clocked out, headed for the employee exit. Ramona intercepted him in the hallway. "Excuse me." He turned, surprised. "Ma'am, can I help you?" "I watched you tonight." Sullivan's expression didn't change, just waited. "I saw you fix the handrail, the door hinge, the outlet cover, the window seal, the plant. Things nobody asked you to fix, things that aren't your job. Why?" Sullivan was quiet for a moment, studying her. Then, "Because they were broken. Someone could get hurt or inconvenienced. If I can fix it, I fix it. Doesn't matter if anyone notices, doesn't matter if anyone asks. You're a janitor. Those repairs aren't your responsibility." "No, but I see them, I have the skills to fix them, and I can't walk past something broken when I know how to make it better, so I do." "Why not tell someone? Maintenance, your supervisor? Get credit for the work." "Because it's not about credit, it's about caring. Broken things stay broken and hurt people unless someone cares enough to fix them, quietly. I care." Ramona felt something crack in her chest. This man, this night janitor, was articulating something she'd forgotten, or maybe never learned. "What's your name?" "Sullivan Hale." "I'm Ramona Caldwell. I own this building, this company, everything you just fixed. I know who you are, ma'am. I've seen you working late. You care about details too, I can tell." "How?" "The way you edit manuscripts. I empty your trash, see the pages covered in notes. You notice every word, every comma, every detail. You care deeply, like I do. We just express it differently." Ramona stared. This janitor had been studying her, seeing her, understanding her, while she'd been oblivious to him, to his work, to his care. "Why do you have architectural tools in your janitor cart?" Sullivan's expression shifted, something painful flickering across his face. "Because I used to be an architect. Buildings, structures, high-stakes design, before my wife died. I'm sorry." She was 35, healthy, brain aneurysm, sudden, no warning signs, nothing I could prevent, nothing I could fix. One moment she was there, the next, gone. I couldn't focus on high-pressure work anymore, couldn't make decisions where people's lives depended on getting it right. So I became a janitor. Simple, low stakes. But I still see things, structural issues, safety problems, and now I can fix them. Small things, perfectly, even if nobody notices, even if nobody asks, because I couldn't fix the thing that mattered most. But I can fix these, and maybe that prevents someone else from getting hurt, from losing something, from experiencing the sudden collapse I couldn't prevent." The words hung between them, heavy, true, devastating. Ramona didn't go back to her office, didn't return to her manuscripts. Instead, she invited Sullivan to the executive cafeteria, made coffee, sat across from him at a small table. Two people who shouldn't be having this conversation, CEO and janitor, but having it anyway. "How do you know what to fix?" Ramona asked. "How do you see things nobody else sees?" "Architect's training. You learn to observe. Structural integrity, load distribution, wear patterns, how materials interact, how people use spaces. You start seeing everything, what works, what doesn't, what's about to fail. And you can't turn it off." "No, I see problems everywhere, constantly. It used to overwhelm me, but as a janitor, I can fix them. Small, quiet, one at a time. It's peaceful, healing, different from designing $50 million buildings where one mistake costs lives. Ramona wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. I control everything in this company. Every detail, every decision. I can't delegate, can't trust other people to care as much as I do. My staff thinks I'm a micromanaging tyrant. They're probably right, but I can't stop. Because if I don't control everything, it'll fall apart. People won't care, won't notice, won't fix the things that matter. But they do care, Sullivan said gently. You just don't see it, because you're measuring the wrong things. What do you mean? You measure what people do when you're watching, when you're controlling, when you're demanding. But that's performance, not care. Real care happens at 2 a.m. when nobody's watching, when there's no credit, no recognition, no reward. That's when you see who actually cares. And people do care. You just don't trust them enough to let you see it. The words hit Ramona like a punch. How do I trust people to care when I can't see it, can't measure it, can't control it? By noticing what they do when nobody's watching. I fix handrails at 2 a.m. because I care, not because you'll see, not because I'll get credit. Your employees care too. They just don't show it the way you're looking, because you're looking for control, for performance, for measurable outcomes. But care is often invisible, quiet, unglamorous. It's fixing small things nobody notices because they matter. That's what I do, and that's what your employees would do too, if you trusted them, if you stopped controlling and started noticing. Ramona felt tears prick her eyes. She never cried, hadn't cried in years, but something about this conversation, this janitor seeing her, understanding her, naming the fear she'd been carrying since childhood, broke through the control. I grew up with nothing, she whispered. Scholarship kid at an Ivy League school, poorest person in every room. I learned that the only way to matter was to be better, smarter, more controlled, more perfect. Because I didn't have money or connections or advantages, just excellence. And excellence required control. Constant, exhausting, terrifying. Because if I let go for 1 second, I'd lose everything. Nobody would care like I do. Nobody would notice the details that matter. So I can't stop. I can't trust. I can't delegate. I understand. But you're wrong about one thing. People do care. I care about handrails and door hinges and plants and window seals, things that don't matter to anyone, except they do matter, because someone uses them, someone depends on them, someone's life is slightly better because they work. I see that. I care. And I'm just a janitor. Imagine how much your editors care about words, your designers care about layouts, your staff care about the work. They do. You just don't trust them to show you because you're too busy controlling to let them care on their own terms. How do I let go? Small things, one thing at a time. Like fixing a handrail. You don't have to trust everyone with everything, just one person with one thing, then another, small, invisible, quiet, until the care compounds, until the culture shifts, until excellence happens not because you're watching, but because people care, on their own, for their own reasons. That's when you know you've built something sustainable, something that survives beyond your control. Ramona didn't fire Sullivan, didn't reprimand him for going beyond his job description. Instead, she researched him, really researched. Sullivan Hale, 37, former lead architect at Morrison & Schmidt, award-winning firm, high-profile projects, buildings that defined skylines. He'd been on partner track. Then his wife Celia died, brain aneurysm at 35. He'd quit 2 weeks later, became a janitor. Night shift, simple, low stakes, invisible, but excellent, quietly, constantly, in ways nobody measured or rewarded or even noticed. Except Ramona had noticed, and it had changed everything. She called Sullivan to her office 3 days later. I want to offer you a position, Director of Facilities and Environmental Care. You'd oversee not just cleaning and maintenance, but the entire physical environment, making sure things work, making sure people notice problems, making sure small fixes happen before they become big failures. Integrating your architect's eye, your craftsman's care, your invisible excellence, into our culture, company-wide. Sullivan was quiet. Then, "I'm a night janitor, Miss Caldwell. I have a 5-year-old daughter with selective mutism. I need predictable hours, low stress, simple work. I can't go back to high-pressure decisions." This isn't high pressure, it's high care. You'd teach people to notice what you notice, to fix what you fix, to care how you care. Not by controlling them, by trusting them, empowering them, creating a culture where people fix handrails at 2 a.m. because they care, not because I'm watching. That's what I need. And you're the only person I've ever met who does it naturally, invisibly, perfectly. What about my daughter? Bring her. We'll create a quiet space, predictable, safe, where she can be while you work. Flexible hours, whatever you need, because this matters. You matter. Your invisible excellence matters. And I want to build a company culture around it. Sullivan studied her, seeing her, the way he'd seen the handrail, the door hinge, the broken things nobody else noticed. "What changed?" he asked. "3 days ago you didn't know I existed. Now you're offering me a director position. Why?" "Because you showed me something I'd forgotten. That excellence happens when nobody's watching. That care doesn't need an audience. That the best people fix things quietly, not for credit, but because they care. I've been controlling everything because I didn't believe people cared. You proved they do. And I want to build a company culture where caring matters more than controlling, where invisible excellence is valued, where people like you who fix handrails at 2 a.m. are recognized, rewarded, elevated." "I don't need recognition." "I know. That's exactly why you deserve it." Sullivan accepted, not for the title, not for the recognition, but because Ramona offered him something he hadn't had since Celia died. Purpose that mattered, work that healed, a chance to teach others what he'd learned, that small fixes matter, that invisible excellence compounds, that caring doesn't need an audience. They created the Sullivan Hale Quiet Excellence Initiative, named after Sullivan's late wife, a program that empowered every employee, regardless of position or department, to notice problems, fix them quietly, and improve the environment without seeking approval or recognition. Not grand gestures, not dramatic interventions, just small fixes, daily, invisible, excellent. A designer noticed the break room coffee maker dripped. Didn't report it, just ordered a drip tray. Fixed it. 67 cents. Nobody noticed. Coffee stopped pooling. Small improvement. An editor noticed a colleague's desk chair squeaked. Didn't mention it, just oiled the mechanism during lunch. 30 seconds. Nobody noticed. Colleague worked in comfort. Small improvement. An accountant noticed the lobby thermostat ran too cold. Didn't complain, just adjusted the settings. 2 degrees warmer. Nobody noticed. Everyone felt more comfortable. Small improvement. Small, invisible, excellent. Compounding. The culture shifted, not overnight, not dramatically, just slowly, invisibly. People started noticing, started caring, started fixing, without seeking credit, without performing, just caring, because the environment mattered, because people mattered, because broken things stayed broken unless someone cared enough to fix them. 6 months later, the company had recorded 1,247 small fixes, employees addressing problems nobody asked them to solve, improving things nobody measured, caring invisibly, excellently, quietly. Ramona's micromanaging decreased, slowly, one delegation at a time. She learned to trust, not blindly, not completely, but incrementally, one small thing, then another, then another. She still worked late, still edited manuscripts, still cared deeply about details, but she stopped trying to control everything, stopped exhausting herself trying to notice every problem, because she'd learned other people noticed too. Other people cared too. They just showed it differently, invisibly, at 2 a.m. when nobody was watching. Sullivan transformed facilities, not by increasing budgets or hiring staff, by teaching people to see, to notice structural issues, safety problems, aesthetic details, small things that mattered, and to fix them, quietly, perfectly, because they could. He brought Bryn to work, his daughter, 5 years old, selective mutism. She didn't speak in public, but in the quiet space Sullivan created, predictable, safe, with sensory-friendly lighting and soft sounds, she began to open, slowly, signing to her father, then humming, then one day whispering a word. Just one, Daddy. The first word she'd spoken in public since Celia died. Sullivan cried, quietly, at 2 a.m. in an empty building where nobody saw, except Ramona, who was working late, who saw, who understood, who witnessed invisible excellence in its purest form. A father creating safety for his daughter, one small detail at a time, until she felt safe enough to speak. A year after the handrail incident, Ramona stood in the 40th floor stairwell. 2 a.m. She couldn't sleep again, but this time not from anxiety, from gratitude, from awareness, from seeing things differently. She gripped the handrail, the one Sullivan had fixed, stable, secure, safe. Nobody knew he'd fixed it. Nobody had thanked him, but it mattered. Every time someone grabbed it, every time an elderly employee used these stairs, every time a pregnant woman steadied herself, it mattered. Small, invisible, excellent. Sullivan appeared in the stairwell. He still worked nights sometimes, preferred them, still fixed small things, not because he was director of facilities, but because he was Sullivan, and broken things bothered him, and he cared. Miss Caldwell? Can't sleep? Not really, but I'm learning it's okay to not control everything, to trust other people care. You taught me that. You taught yourself. I just fixed a handrail. You did more than that. You showed me excellence happens when nobody's watching, that the best people care invisibly, that broken things get fixed, not because I demand it, but because someone like you notices, cares, acts, quietly. I'd been so focused on controlling everything, I'd stopped trusting anyone. You changed that, one small fix at a time. Sullivan smiled. How's the delegation going? Better, slowly. I still struggle, but I'm learning. People do care. I just have to trust them to show me in their own way, invisibly, often, in small ways I'd miss if I wasn't looking, like you taught me. They stood in comfortable silence, CEO and director, former strangers, now friends, bonded by invisible excellence, by care without audience, by fixing small things that mattered. Below them, an employee entered the building, late shift, noticed a light bulb flickering in the lobby, didn't report it, just grabbed a ladder from maintenance, replaced the bulb. 30 seconds. Nobody watched, nobody thanked them, but the light stopped flickering. Small improvement, invisible excellence. Ramona saw it on the security monitor, smiled. 1,248. You're counting? I'm noticing. There's a difference. Counting is controlling, noticing is appreciating. You taught me that too. Celia would have liked you, Sullivan said quietly. She believed in invisible excellence, fixing small things perfectly, caring without audience, living like nobody's watching, but caring like everyone matters. I wish I could have met her. You honor her every time you trust someone to care, every time you notice invisible excellence, every time you let go of control and embrace trust. That's her legacy, living through you, through this culture, through 1,248 small fixes nobody asked for, because people care when trusted, always. Ramona nodded, and somewhere in the building, invisible, quiet, excellent, someone noticed something broken and fixed it, because they cared, not for recognition, not for reward, just because it mattered. And that, Sullivan and Ramona had learned, was the greatest excellence of all. The greatest work happens when nobody's watching. Not for credit, not for recognition, just because broken things deserve to be fixed, and people deserve environments where small things work perfectly. Subscribe to Becca's Stories, because your support helps us share moments that remind you caring doesn't need an audience. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country below, and tell us, what's something small you've fixed that nobody noticed? Your quiet excellence matters.